Welcome back, race fans, to SVR. My name is Webbo, here to join you for today's racing action as usual, and can't wait to get underway for you. We are in Nurburgring for the penultimate round of the G2 Championship, and this is how our team standings look at this point in the season. The Leigh lead with 268 points ahead of Kimi's racing team on 220. Coach Dave have 201 with Buckerstein on 186. Mega Racing have 157. Jamplacht 146. And Brokaga very tight there at the very bottom of our G2 standings on 145 points total. After this round, of course, there will just be the one to play for, but Pumpkin King has a huge lead at this point in the championship, and I do believe can be declared champion already, but I will await official confirmation of that fact. Pumpkin King 173 points so far this season, rarely off the podium, and just one no-show for the season so far. 173 for Pumpkin King, with Apex Not Found on 121. He won our first race, but has yet to revisit the winner's step ever since. 121 points for Apex Not Found, who I believe may have changed or be changing his name within Discord anyway. No, my apologies. That is his teammate who'll be doing that, I believe. So there we have. JCGT is in joint third position at the moment on 90 points. He's won a race to Black Evo, who has not, which I think is why he's above him in the standings. But 90 points, joint third. JCGT, big question mark over who with a shout, as is Zenith or Zenith Specs in P6. Breo is in 7th place, and he has 72 points, with DeLucas, his Brokaga teammate, just behind him in the championship, with his second and third places in the last 3 rounds. He's on a rare run of form and a fantastic, certainly seeming to get a handle of this Jag on 62. Quicks has 58, Kelvin the Boss 46, Motsky and Gubanov, the Team Mega pairings, on 44 and 38 respectively, and our newest rookie here in the G2 Championship, Lord Tophad, has 12 points total. Let's get on with it then. Make sure that we can enjoy the racing action. This is how things shaped up after qualifying. Quicks qualifying at the back in the GTR Nismo for the Buckerstein Transport Service team, with Apex Specs for Coach Dave in the Audi in P13. Monsieur Keefe for the Jamplacht Interiors team in the Lamborghini, qualified in 12th, with Breo in the Jaguar for Brokaga in P11. Black Evo, I've done it again and I've forgotten to check in on the tyre situation, but Black Evo on the mediums in 10th position. Backmarker Racing, who is reserving for Team Mega, making his debut here today, managing to qualify within the top 10 in 9th place in the Lexus. Should be a very intriguing prospect here to start his first race at the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit. He's elected for the hard tyres to start with. No surprise, really, in the Lexus there for the hard tyres. Lord Top Hat in P8 on the mediums, with B-Bar, another reservist for Team Mega, Motsky and Gubanov, both unable to participate. So they are having to adjust very quickly and get on radio terms with each other very quickly as well. But they're starting line astern, 7th and 9th positions. JCGT in the Ferrari, look to him to jump forward off the grid. He's on the medium tyres, and Monkey Games in the Porsche in the sunny part of the grid anyway in P5. He's on the hard tyres. DeLucas runs from 4th position, a great starting place, and he's on Goodyear medium tyres as well in the Jag. And he's got his own decal on the bonnet or the hood there, and I can see he's also put the Webbo com sticker on the roof as well. Feel free, by the way, to coordinate the Webbo com stickers colours to your racing colours. Here we have Apex Not Found then starting in P3 with Pumpkin King in 2nd. But how about this? Rizback, the AN driver, guest driving in the Pride livery for Kimi's racing team, sticking it on pole here, the Frenchman in the Ferrari. So fantastic qualifying from him. We'll look forward to seeing how the race can shake out. Rysbach on the mediums, Pumpkin King on the hards, on the front row of the grid, with a hard tyre shod Audi on the outside entry into that first corner. So really looking forward to this one. Hope you're ready to go. This is the last round at Nurburgring that we get to enjoy, so enjoy it while we can. We are ready then to get underway, and this is the penultimate round, round 12 of the G2 Championship. As the lights are on, the race is building. And it's dropped the clutch, and go, go, go. Pumpkin King with a better reaction, but as usual, the Ferrari at the lead and on the third row of the grid, jumping forward like crazy, looking for that inside entry, and the Nismo going for a really for broke down there, and unfortunately it looks like wiping somebody out. I'm just checking out, it's Black Evo. We're going to have to go back and see exactly what happened here. Black Evo got into somebody, but I think it was Pumpkin King who ended up getting turned around, unfortunately, and who at the lead of the championship, right at the back of the grid. And it looks like that was I thought he was going to get hit from behind, but actually he got into the side of the Jaguar of De Lucas, who now gets himself all the way up into second position and challenging Rysbach here, who's on those medium tyres in reds, with reds colour rims on the side of the car as well. Looks like red rims for the win today, in P1 and in P2. Rysbach struggling a little bit to get this Ferrari down into what is the approach into Padgett Racing turn 6, and then which is a little practice run before heading all the way over to the Goodyear corner. Expect De Lucas to be strong into that corner. He's got the same tyres on. JCGT has made his moves forward. The medium tyre Ferrari is running first and third positions so far, with Monkey Games racing out of New Zealand at 5 a.m. on a Monday morning is finding himself all the way up into P4 and with the hard tyres on as well. And unusually for him, being the lead Delesi driver. Black Evo then in P5. We've got Apex Not Fan in 6th. Apex Specs, just to confuse everybody, or Zenith as he is now, in P7, with Brayo chasing down, but he's actually got the Lamborghini Huracan of Lord Top Hat, who started right down at the back in P9. Mr. Keefe is there with him as well, with Backmarker Racing ahead of Bibar, away from the start of the race. Both Lexi who are starting and on the hard tyres and are stable in 11th and 12th positions. Quicks is in 13th. Pumpkin King has a ton of work to do, and I think he he hasn't pitted. He's okay, but Rysbach has a half-second penalty that will be paid the next time around on the longest straightaway, just on the gap between Bilstein and Falcon turns, heading downwards, downhill towards the Ravenel hairpin. Used to be known as the Castrol S or the Yokohama hairpin as well. The tyre manufacturer is very popular with corner names here in the Nürburgring. Into the Mercedes-AMG arena section now, and the drivers will be able to run ferociously wide out of this turn 3, 4, 5 complex, right out onto the grass, even further perhaps than Rysbach was running. And of course he's a little bit used to it, having run last weekend in the Adrian Newey division here, which technically is a lower division, but he's quite happy in the Ferrari. So someone who's less happy in the Ferrari, getting the rear end snapping out on him, is JCGT out into the gravel. Now he brings himself into the danger zone with Black Evo in striking distance with the Valentino Rossi number 46 on the Buckstein Transport Service Nismo as he dives down the inside into Goodyear corner. JCGT will hold on here because the next run is the left-right of the Michael Schumacher S. He'll understeer slightly wide. Black Evo having to just lift the throttle and just take a slightly more steady run through that corner, but he is incredibly close here to JCGT. Let's join him on board as we see where the Nismo can gain some ground here. Both cars on the medium tyres. Then Rysbach is going to suffer a half-second penalty coming through here. And it's De Lucas who gets ahead thanks to that penalty as Rysbach goes to protect the inside line. A touch on the way in. Both cars leaving a little bit of space. Both making unfortunate contact there at the second apex, certainly through the Vidal chicane. But De Lucas now into the lead of the race in the Jaguar, ahead of the Ferrari of Rysbach for Kimi's racing team. And Rysbach keen to get that P1 back, obviously, as soon as possible. He's been able to put in a great deal of time on the racetrack as he tries to get a better drive out of the Ravenel hairpin, and he's outside inside on just about every corner here. There's definitely a chance down into turn 3, 4. The Ferrari, it's not quite there for him. Or is it? Because De Lucas does seem to run quite wide on the way through the corner. He can go out very wide on the exit, as we talked about earlier on. The next turn is a short left before heading into a much longer right-hand turn, but the Jaguar just with the legs of the top end speed on the way through the next corner. But I'm prepared for a great battle between these two, and I hope you guys are looking forward to it. Breo in P5, Apex Specs in P6 at the moment, and certainly pushing each other very, very hard indeed. There's Apex Specs on the hard tyres in the Audi. Oh, that was a very late move and a very rude manoeuvre from him, as he actually drives himself off the circuit to let Breo back. But unfortunately, both of them losing plenty of places. It's not just as simple as letting one car through. We'll have a look at this as he dives down the inside. That was very, very late. He tries to wait on the outside of the circuit, but 1, 2, what have we got? 3. Oh dear, 4 and 5 places lost overall for Apex Specs. But actually, is this some sort of purgatory he's put himself into here? He seemed to completely stop. I'm not sure if he didn't quite realise how many people were going through, but he's given himself essentially a back of the grid penalty and put himself out in 14th place. Pumpkin King has made it back to 11th. B-Bar's in 12th place, but Pumpkin King looking like he's absolutely on fire at the moment. And he's already catching his teammate here, who is Monkey Games in the Porsche. Breo in 9th with Mushokiv, looking for that opportunity. The front three still, De Lucas, Rysbach and JCGT. A Jaguar with great top speed, pressurising Mushokiv into outbraking himself into the Vidal chicane, and we had an overtake without contact as into the inside lane comes Monkey Games into that final corner. The cars never want to touch the apex through there, but he's doing his best here to try and get that Porsche, that rear-engine Porsche, to fire up. I'm sure that that Pumpkin King will be looking for the opportunity to follow whoever succeeds through this next corner as he goes wide, tries to go for the cutback, but actually ends up going all the way around the outside, tucks back on the inside, and probably talking on the radio and saying, I'm coming through, let me on, and I'll try and create space for you as I come through to Monkey Games. But in the end, it was just the Porsches that swapped positions. Back to what was happening up near the front end of the grid. We've got Black Evo being gapped by JCGT. We've got Rysbach and De Lucas locked in battle, continuing. De Lucas looking very smooth at this point and very much in control of things, but Rysbach has a purple sector here through to the end of sector 2 on the racetrack. It's a 4-sector racetrack, so that's half the way around the circuit. He's at a purple or best of anybody pace. So we'll see if that translates to better even through there into the 3rd sector, and indeed it does. So there's Rysbach making moves now and putting the pressure on De Lucas, trying to give him something to think about in his beautiful Ferrari with the red centre line on the steering wheel, of course, as we look to run out through the Vidal chicane. Not much going on behind here. The front two are lifting their pace and extending the gap between themselves and P3 and the rest of the field. Here is JCGT in that P3 as he exits out of the Hyundai Curva in turn number 15 officially, just ahead of Black Evo. Then we've got Lord Top Hat. Backmarker Racing very much impressing here Qualifying, I think it was down in 9th, and he's already into 6th position on the hard tyres as well. Not even making a great deal of hay on medium tyres. So for the Team Mega reserve driver, and putting out there a little advert for his driving services to any team bosses watching, Backmarker Racing up to P6, and as I say, looking very good at this stage. On those hard tyres in the Lexus, which does chew through its tyres. We saw in G1 that some of the certainly the Lexus drivers were having to use 2 sets of hards instead of 1, as most drivers did. But here comes Breo in the Jaguar. If any car can take the Lexus on top speed, it's probably the Jaguar. I think a lot of people were expecting this race to be all about a high downforce, high drag, low top speed setup, but it actually seemed to eventuate in a very different way. I think sometimes it's the camber change, it felt like a very twisty circuit, but actually you are on throttle for quite a hefty portion of the race, all the way out of that Goutier-Thornton, through Michael Schumacher S, all the way up to Xiaomi Curva, which is the next one here. That is full throttle, possibly a small feather on the throttle for these big GT3 cars, and then you can see that was a little bit of contact there from Breo from behind as we drive and we head forward up towards that Vidal chicane. We've already made contact going through the previous corner. Let's have a look as we look for an opportunity. It's left, right. We're still looking as we head down into the Vidal chicane, shaping for a move, but not really ever going for one on that lap for Breo against Backmarker Racing, and this battle will continue to run then. De Lucas leads Risback and JCGT in front, but all eyes at the moment certainly on Breo and Backmarker Racing here in the battle for P6. Backmarker Racing moving to the inside, defending hard on the way in towards the Ravenel hairpin, very far to the right hand of the circuit as he ends up, of course, going wide and deep through the next corner. And that is Breo with an expert move, essentially going back through. Let's have another look at how that looked from his chase cam. He's positioned himself very out wide, and that was that was very similar to what I did with Comacopa in the AN race, actually. So yeah, it looks like the Mega car is not particularly well set up for breaking into that first corner. At least I will give that excuse out there for both of us. Through we go into the Mercedes AMG arena, and Pumpkin King is hot on the heels here of the debut driver, and he will perhaps not be familiar with Pumpkin King at this stage, but it's hard to miss that bright white Porsche Delesi with, of course, the black moustache on the front grille of Pumpkin King. Firing through then is Backmarker Racing with Pumpkin King directly behind him, as he's then shaping a small defensive shape on the way into Goodyear corner, and there goes Pumpkin King around again and trying to at least put pressure on, but cognizant that he wants to continue his run of form recently, and certainly get back on the winning step. He has rarely been off the podium, Pumpkin King, just twice in his entire race career with us in the 2025 VR Sim Racing World Championship. As Pumpkin King then in that P8 continues. We've got drivers heading through the Vidal chicane up ahead at the moment, but right now this three-way battle for 6th position is where the majority of the action is likely to come, I think, at this point. Pumpkin King being pretty patient out there. You don't win race after race without a fair amount of patience. So we will see as he moves inside. What happened there with Breo? Looks like Breo suffered a bit of it's a big slide on the way out of the Vidal. Quite frankly, that is tremendously well caught from Breo. So certainly some style points for him, but of course it's rare to be able to catch quite such a dramatic tank slapper as that one. Let's see if he decides to go for a little bit of a bump draft here. It's not permitted, bump drafting, so he does have to peel us alongside. We may end up with 3 wide down into that hairpin, and then rolls reversed here as Breo ends up essentially understeering and shepherding Pumpkin King right out wide, the exact opposite of what we saw on the previous lap between himself and Backmarker Racing. Breo going for a very early move down into that left-hander, and I think he had insufficient overlap there to make it all the way through. You've got Pumpkin King biding his time here, nervous around these two drivers, I think, and I think that would be fair to say as Breo launches one down the inside into the left-hander, but of course the next corner is going to be a right-hander. This is the Padgett Racing turn 6 before heading then down towards the next right-hander as well, and the Jaguar just not able to find his way through at this stage. He's got that inside line potentially. Backmarker Racing very late on the brakes. Pumpkin King trying to go around the outside here. And it is nail-biting stuff as we run on the approach to the Michael Schumacher S. Breo just a little bit wide of that apex, which is good to pick up if you can. If you can't, we'll handle it nicely. And then heading up towards the Xiaomi curve. Excuse me. And then back through Bilstein, formerly Warsteiner, and Bit Curver, before then heading uphill towards that Vidal chicane once again as we go through the Falcon kink on the right hand of the circuit. Backmarker Racing defends on the inside. Oh dear, and well, I have to say it looks like punted from the Jaguar, and then he's reset back on the track, unfortunately. Let's see how that looked from the car of Breo here. Keep your eye, of course, on the telemetry readout. You've got the braking trace coming up. Interesting. Okay, it did rather appear as Backmarker Racing disappears. We certainly had a brake evidence of a brake release on the car there. So I don't know if the Jaguar had some sort of brake failure mid approach to the corner, but the net result is that Backmarker Racing has been dispatched from this battle for 6th place. It is now between Breo and Pumpkin King. Pumpkin King probably slightly relieved to be able to just fight with one driver here, and there's Breo just getting tucked into that awful divot in the entrance. He's got a little bit of damage on the front of the Jaguar, visual damage anyway, certainly nothing on the car that needs repairing at this stage, but Breo then giving up that 6th position after all, and Pumpkin King back through. And he, of course, back right at the back of the grid, but I expect that gap will now extend out because Pumpkin King has a great deal of pace in his Porsche, as we've seen this season so far. It's Lord Hop out in 5th, Black Evo in 4th, JCGT in 3rd place with Rizback. How close is Rizback still with DeLucas? Well, quite frankly, that has extended a lot the gap between the 1st and 2nd positions. So Rizback, he had the lead. Look at that. That is quite large now, unfortunately, for the Frenchman here, reserving for his Kimmy's Racing team. And that is going to be an interesting situation. He's running through those medium tyres quite considerably. All the cars on the mediums absolutely are. Reminded that Black Evo on the fairly heavy Nismo is wearing that front left quite a lot as well there. And Lord Top Hat in 5th. Pumpkin King is on the hard tyres, can go deeper into this race. The G2 drivers race for 50 minutes in total. So it is there's a lot to think about in terms of strategy, but I do expect more drivers in the G2 race will be able to one-stop than they were in the G1 race. If you've already seen that, I won't give you any spoilers if you haven't. No one likes to watch races with spoilers in them, I'm sure. Backmarker Racing in P8. Then we've got a great situation here. We've got Mush-O'Keefe, Monkey Games and Apex Specs fighting over 9th position here. Monkey Games on the hard tyres, so is Mush-O'Keefe. We'll just check out, everybody at the towards the back half of the grid here are on the hard tyres. Within a pit stop window of the leader. Certainly DeLucas hasn't been able to extend that gap enough yet. And the beautiful black and gold of Monkey Games, of Mush-O'Keefe and his Yamplacked interiors cars. I think all of our cars are fantastically designed. There isn't an ugly one among them, but there's something about the evening sun on the Yamplacked interiors gold and black that certainly stands out, as does its black versus white here, with a little bit of red behind as well. Great to have such fantastically designed and sponsored teams this season, of course, and we will be making our preparations for next year's title sponsorship. So if you're feeling left out, or you'd like to sponsor an individual race, or the broadcasts, or anything like that, do get in touch with us here at SVR Racing. You can probably find your way in at SVR-Racing on YouTube if you're not already familiar, but we do try to give our sponsors great value for their investment with us. That's Monkey Games, and I think that is Simucube just going pretty wide. We've seen that a few times, not from him specifically, but we'll just check that out again, because we're heading up out of the Michael Schumacher S, and then I think essentially Monkey Games gets a little bit caught up with Simucube coming back on the circuit towards his path here, and he's hesitating on the throttle, but Apex Specs, no hesitation whatsoever. He goes straight on by in the Audi, and then has a pretty good run by the look of things, certainly from Monkey Games cockpit position here. We'll see if there's an overtake coming, but yeah, Simucube on the defensive, and then very much later on the brakes is Monkey Games on the way into the Vidal, but unfortunately that steals him a little bit of performance on the way out. As Jackie Stewart used to say, slow in, fast out is the fastest way around any given turn. But a lot of drivers do rely on their brakes a great deal to gain time wherever possible. Here is Apex Specs with his Summit or Apex Japanese characters on the back window. We talked about that before for the Coach Dave Academy team. And he is trying to find a weakness in Simucube's game at this stage. And there's often an opportunity down into that turn 3. But as they go through turn 4, the track line favouring the Lamborghini on the way through there. Behind them, you've got, I think, a freshly pitted Black Evo. Yes, indeed, Black Evo on brand new hard tyres. He shouldn't really be daring to go around the outside of a driver through turn 5 on cold tyres. But one of the first ones to pit then off the medium is Black Evo, and around minute 20, getting on for minute 20, that could open up the remaining 30 minutes of the race for him. Quicks is in 13th place. He started on the hard tyres, as did B-Bar, who's in 14th. But actually, for a competitive race after 20 minutes, the field spread is not particularly big. Although De Lucas is doing his best to try and make sure that he puts as many laps on drivers as possible. There is the glowing black, green and gold of De Lucas. I'm not 100% familiar with what this emblem on the hood actually represents here. Might be a personal emblem. I'm sure that you're all screaming at the screen by now, and you know exactly what that that decal on between the two air intakes and the two Bs of the Bro Cargo team represents, but it's not something I'm familiar with. A new customization, as I don't think I've seen the Goodyear stickers on the tyres either. For De Lucas, drivers definitely enjoying customizing their cars for each round where possible, within the livery change rulings, of course. I think the livery change rulings are somewhat generous anyway. I think it's fine to customize the general theme, but an outright change, such as we've seen for Kimi's to go for the Pride season rainbow stripes, as designed by Red, and maybe changing from this sort of pale lilac to a deeper purple with gold color change. Those are the ones that certainly require that clearance, but clearance is often given. There's Pumpkin King in P5 now, having got himself, as we saw, ahead of Breo. Breo been gapped by Pumpkin King to a small extent. Backmarker Racing, whose diffuser is probably not quite in the same shape that it left the pit box this morning. He is running, and I can't quite tell with Backmarker Racing, but his helmet looks like an old, is that an old Michael Schumacher or an old Gerhard Berger? possibly. Looks like he's got an Austrian flag on there, but it does look very late 90s Michael Schumacher era as well, so I'm not entirely sure. I'm sure he'll let me know about Marco Racing, but great to have him here. I used to commentate over him in ACC, so it's great to see drivers trying out different sims, different leagues as well. And it was a pleasant surprise to see Marco Racing join us. Rizback in second and JCGT in third have both decided to pit. So has Lord Top Hat. That allows Pumpkin King to get by here on his hard tyres. He's running in the low 2-minute mark on his recent laps. DeLucas has the fastest lap of all so far out in the lead at 1 minute 59.747. That was way back on lap 4 though, and you can see that his even in the Jaguar, his tyres are starting to let go, and I think lap 12 will be the final lap on the medium tyres for DeLucas. But he's staying out longer than most medium runners, if not all the rest of the medium runners. And Pumpkin King in the Porsche, it is more of a front limited track here, and so that does tend to favour the Porsche, which uses its rear tyres thanks to the weight being at the back naturally where the engine is, of course. And Pumpkin King then in P2 from right at the back of the grid. The drivers having to contend with a 3.3 meters per second directly due east wind. Now that is what most drivers were saying. They take any wind direction except due east. A crosswind on a couple of the most important corners here, including this one. There's Breo. Backmarker Racing in fourth now. Rizback out of the pits on hard tyres, and he's running in that 5th place. And he'll be hoping that his newer tyres, albeit a harder compound, will enable him to at least close the gap to DeLucas, who now pits there with 15 litres of fuel remaining on the car. Apex Not Found is in 6th place, with Apex Specs, his teammate, in 7th place, just to confuse matters. Mr. Keith in 8th, with Black Evo in 9th place. We've got Monkey Games running 10th on those hard tyres from the start of the race, as his teammate is doing as well. And JCGT in P11. Lord Top Hat runs 12th. He was as high as, I think, 4th position, possibly, earlier on. But Lord Top Hat in 12th. I think I might be talking rubbish. I think his teammate was the one who was much higher. And Quicks in P13. B-Bar has not pitted yet, but the tyre wear on the Lexus is certainly biting quite hard. He'll try and run a few more laps here and get into a safe medium tyre window. The drivers have to change compound once. They have to use the hards and mediums. They can use the softs if they so desire, but that would have to be a 3rd set of tyres. Pumpkin King then is your new leader of the race, much to everybody's disappointment, I'm sure. But except for his and his Delesi teammates. But here he is, the number 911, appropriately enough, running. He has I think what is an unassailable championship lead here in the race, in the championship so far. 173 to 121 as things settled. So I think Pumpkin King is our champion. The two Brocarga cars are in locked in step with each other, as Breo in 2nd place. I think he should be getting the message on the radio to move aside for your win contender teammate DeLucas. I think DeLucas might be starting to feel a little bit like he's being held up here, although he might be quite happy to use the slipstream, certainly up to the Vidal chicane, and gain a few of those tenths of a second that he's lost in the wake of the car in front of him. Here he goes. Well, actually not even using that slipstream at all, as he peels to one side. I think he had a better run out of the Schumacher S, and there is DeLucas back into P2 now. And actually Rizback didn't gain a great deal, certainly no track position, but he might have gained a second or two. His in-lap and out-lap, a 2:18 and a 2:22. DeLucas a 2:18, and we will see what his outlap managed to be. It's going to be very close. In fact, it's going to be slightly slower for him, a 2:24. So he lost 2 seconds to Rizback in the in-lap outlap procedure, And Rysbach will still be holding on to a fair degree of hope here that he can make the difference. Breo pits in what is now 5th, 6th, 7th positions as he will take those new tyres. And we've got Apex Not Found then running P4. Hoping to get onto the podium today. Pumpkin King, of course, has still to stop. So does Apex Not Found's teammate, Apex Specs here. And he's treating those tyres very well indeed. When you compare between, say, Pumpkin King and Apex Specs, I think in the Audi here, he's been putting in a really good stint on the tyres. Maybe he's feeling a little bit wary of the medium tyre wear. But I think we're getting towards being within the window now where that medium tyre will run to the end on slightly lighter fuel than the cars would have started the race on, of course. Black Evo, one of the earliest cars to stop. He has got the biggest challenge here to keep these hard tyres alive all the way to the end, but I think he'll pick up 1 or maybe 2 places from pit stops from other drivers. Very good looking Bergstein Transport Service car as usual out there. The big logo on the bonnet, somewhat interrupted by the by the air inlets on the hood there, and Mr. O'Keefe with a little bit of a drift going through the Schumacher S, and getting very active on the way into Xiaomi Curva. He's got JCGT, behind him, who's had the hazard lights on for some time now. JCGT. He's also rocking the 2025 Lewis Hamilton helmet, it seems, is JC. As we have a look down into that Vidal chicane once again. Ferrari handling the curves very nicely, but he needs to keep his apex speeds as high as possible because his ultimate top speed is a little bit lower than the cars around him, but of course they make up for that with just about every other attribute, including the grid starts, the Ferraris. Monkey Games in P9. Behind him, of course, Lord Top Hat in 10th now. And then we've got Backmarker Racing, who's, interestingly enough, ahead of Breo on the circuit now. After the pit stops, Backmarker Racing has pitted most recently, I think, on the same lap, if not the lap prior to Breo, and has actually got himself ahead of the driver who made contact with him on the way into the Vidal chicane. So that will be fairly satisfying for him. A 2:01.0, his first flying lap there from Backmarker Racing. So that will have definitely helped. 2:19.216 his times, 2:22.26 from Breo. That is where he lost out then. It was the pit stop sequence. The in-lap and the out-lap were significantly slower than Backmarker Racing, who's managed to secure for himself a really good position now. Quicks is in 13th, B-Bar down in 14th place right now, but not too far away from Quicks to be able to give him a little bit of pressure, try and make sure that he's watching his deltas and seeing where he's losing time. Finally then, after 30.5 minutes, Pumpkin King will pit with 6 litres of fuel remaining in the Porsche, and that will help DeLucas back with his yellow headlights and his gold accents on the Brocarga black and green. The largest Webbo sticker I think is possible to apply on a car from DeLucas there, and he screams back into the lead of the race. Pumpkin King with his jack-o'-lantern helmet is in now P3. I think Apex Not Found has pitted, and he's coming off his medium tyres. That must be his second set of tyres from Apex Not Found, or he's performed an absolute miracle in that Audi. JCGT will be hoping to get himself ahead of Pumpkin King, but that hope has faded and dwindled as Pumpkin King comes through, and Pumpkin King has crossed the white line. Now he could be a podium contender, but a 3-second off throttle penalty is going to stymie those hopes for now anyway. Pumpkin King just transgressing there on the way out of the pit lane. I don't know if we'll be able to see it in real time here as we head down towards the pit lane. I think, in fact, it must have been on the pit in position. Excuse me. that he crossed that white line, or possibly even inadvertently touched the white line on the way through the pit lane procedure. It's quite easy to trip over it here in the Nurburgring. As Black Evo in P3 then will see that Porsche closing in, but he won't necessarily know that the car is wearing a penalty, which will be paid on the way just out of Sector 3 as he starts Sector 4 of the racetrack. But certainly Black Evo on the hard tyres, well worn now, these hard tyres. He was one of the first drivers to pit off the medium, and he's defending hard, and he has every right to do so. But Pumpkin King on those newer tyres, just keen to get as far up the road as possible, but he will of course lose this position once again. So he probably would do well not to make an enemy of Black Evo by going for a dicey move. Can be pretty annoying if you fight with someone who has a penalty and then they drop behind you and you think, well, what was all that about? So we've got Black Evo wide on the way into Xiaomi curve. He regains the racing line on the way out and through Bilstein, and then you can see Pumpkin King dropping like a stone here, the front end dipping as the car drops off its throttle, and then the gap will widen hugely. In fact, JCGT has a run on him here. JCGT going for the run down into the Vidal chicane, gets himself ahead, gets both apexes neat and tidy. JCGT passing the current champion and championship leader here. He may feel, JCGT, like he should have been in with a fight here in the championship, but he has missed 3 races. He's one of our winners though, and he scored 4 consecutive podiums. Some unnecessary contact between the two of them as they run down the start-finish straight. I think it's probably accidental, possibly a bit of net code or something, as Pumpkin King will try the old switchback. Unfortunately for him though, JCGT had turned the car around by himself on the apex as far as I could make out. Let's have a look as he comes down, and yeah, he just caught too much of the car. Now Pumpkin King was committed to that switchback, but he didn't pitch JCGT round. As Pumpkin King picked up damage, he's avoided damage. It was slow enough, gentle enough, that contact, to not be a problem. But JCGT will say, look, I had my hazards on. You should have known I was a hazard. Oh, fabulous slide from Lord Top Hat in the Lamborghini. That thing looks so good going sideways. It's not quick, but you will get a style point for that one, Lord Top Hat. Love to see it. Great little sequence. Let's just try and get a better view of that one. There we go. Left, right. Oh, that would have scored highly on a drift point challenge, because he gave it the old Scandi flick on the way into the corner. Fabulous from Lord Top Hat. Backmarker Racing in P7 has now apex not found in between himself and Breyer, but he's going to have to look after those medium tyres, because he did stop slightly before the 20 minutes to go marker of the race. So I think he'll be just keeping a close eye on the action in front of him, but most definitely on his tyre condition. DeLucas leads from Risbach from Black Evo, as Pumpkin King will now try and get back towards Black Evo. Where is Black Evo in our sights here from the seat of Pumpkin King? Well, he's not very close, you have to say. He's just gone through Bilstein. They're heading out of that Bilstein corner now, and there's a little bit of a mountain to climb, or at least a significant hill to climb for Pumpkin King to get himself onto that podium, and it's going to take tyres and tyre grip away from him in doing the catching. So he's got to go quick, protect the tyres for a potential bid for a successive podium here for Pumpkin King. This would be a 6th successive feature race podium if he can make it work. That's quite something, with 3 of those podiums being wins as well. Lord Top Hat, both Lamborghini drivers struggling today, I think it's fair to say, with a very difficult to handle race car. It's been oversteering and understeering, sometimes at in the same corner, as Lord Top Hat relies on the front axle heavily into the Ravenel hairpin. JCGT with the switchback maneuver, beautiful through turn 2. You don't see many overtakes through turn 2, and JCGT stealing a march there on the Lamborghini and getting himself up into P5. And another little mini slide going through this low grip switchback section of the AMG arena. Backmarker Racing also catching this this group now and potentially putting himself in a position to finish in certainly the top half, it seems, of the draw at this stage. Maybe even better than that, into the top 5 or 6 could be on for Backmarker Racing and Team Mega. And in G2, Team Mega haven't been particularly successful to this point in the season, so it would be a very welcome haul of points as the season draws to an end, and we divvy up the prize money, of course, at the end of the season for the teams. Breo in P9 there on the hard tyres. I don't think the Jaguar is quite as happy on the hard tyres under Breo as it perhaps was earlier on. Apex Specs running in 10th place. We've got Simucube. These drivers fair distance apart from one another at this stage, with Monkey Games in 12th place. I thought Monkey might be able to do something a bit more than this so far today. He's had one podium so far this season, and I'm sure very, very keen to get back on that onto the podium again before the end of the season. B-Bar has got himself away from the wooden spoon position because Quicks has made his pit stop and has dropped back now to that final place on the grid. We have DeLucas leading Rizback by probably 8 or 9 seconds now. Pumpkin King has overhauled Black Evo. I just want to see if we can see exactly when that was. It was a fair distance ago, unfortunately. So Pumpkin King moving up to P3. I feel like that's probably will have been Black Evo protecting the tyres or suffering an off-track moment there with the tyres, unfortunately, because it would be very unusual for him to have lost quite so much time to Pumpkin King. And then this great sequence of corners with the drivers just hanging onto the cars now. JCGT, Lord Hot Hat and Backmarker Racing, your 3 closest drivers in the field on this lap 19. And we are running into the 39th minute of the 50. So definitely the business end of this race through the Paget Racing, formerly known as Ford Curva, and then heading downhill towards a very typical carousel-like Nurburgring corner, which is the Goodyear corner. I often refer to this as the Green Heck when you have its much bigger sibling, the Green Hell, next door. And sometimes, obviously, we run the 24-hour circuit, which is both tracks at once. As we run through then Lord Top Hat, looking for that chance down the inside. Looks like Backmarker Racing pressurizing him on the inside, just staying in his mirrors, making sure that that the Lamborghini driver is keeping a very close eye on what's happening. But I think these drivers now slowing themselves down to a point where possibly it's going to become a 4-way with Apex Not Found, the Spaniard, closing up. We've got sort of Team Spain almost, Coach Dave, with across the divisions, Hervas and Apex Not Found, and Vader, of course, team captain there of the team. Oh, that is so rough on Lord Top Hat, who actually manages to make contact with that pit barrier on the pit wall. Let's perhaps just go back and see how that felt from his perspective. You'll see that that bright white and red painted caution sign there on the pit wall, and I think he just caught it, and it just nudged him out wide. That's allowed the Lexus of Backmarker Racing into P6. It's going to allow Apex Not Found to catch up as well. And let's see if Apex Not Found took all of that momentum to the inside line on the way into Ravenel. And down into the hairpin we go. We're going to catch a lot of inside Apex, and we know that that can upset the balance of the car. Just ask the Ferrari Kimi's racing team about that. But Apex Not Found gets by. Lord Top Hat unfortunately loses 2 places. It could have been a lot worse. I have seen some pretty spectacular crashes as a result of nudging that wall. I think he just caught the very front edge of the car. He has got damage on it though. It has actually hurt the car significantly, so it's going to affect his handling for the remainder of the race. If it's really bad, he'll have to pit. But Lord Toppet, I think it's flashing, so it's not super severe. Apex not found though now, flush with one place. Would love to get another one. He's got much fresher medium tyres than Backmarker Racing, who of course has to do a difficult job in the Lexus here. You've got trying to make a one-stop work when the car is very heavy on its tyres. Certainly when it's set up to go fast, which of course the drivers will always choose every day of the week. But very difficult to protect the tyres in the Lexus, it seems. And there is Apex not found, just sliding slightly on the way through the Bilstein corner, building the speed and trying to get that top speed, getting the slipstream, a little bit of slipstream as Backmarker Racing then peels to the inside. And he's pretty good into that Vidal chicane. Even though he enters that corner quite narrow, he manages to maintain good speed through there. He's found a good line, good contact with the curbs. You've got to use but not abuse the curbs through the Vidal chicane. And we're back to 4 drivers competing over P5 essentially, as Backmarker Racing is catching JCGT and bringing Apex not found and possibly even Lord Top Hat with him. JCGT on the hard tyres will be more vulnerable, but you fancy Apex not found is in the best position here. Now he's going to try and go all the way around the outside. It's a double left though. It's not the best position to be in. If you can hang on, then you're in a good place for turn 4 and 5, and perhaps that's what he's concentrating on. He's going to get a really good racing line through this next corner. You're not allowed to overtake while you are side by side off the circuit there, and both drivers keeping their wheels, or at least 2 wheels in Backmarker Racing's case, on the racetrack. But Apex not found manages to prevail in the end with that better exit and of course the better tyres. Backmarker Racing back down to 7th place, and he's lost momentum, and Lord Top Hat's coming to try and take that position back. This is absolutely awesome from the drivers. It is absolutely fantastic to see them driving so closely with one another, swapping positions time after time. And Lord Top Hat, despite the small amount of damage on the front and right of the car, is still able to compete here. I think Apex not found has got a significant tyre advantage, but of course he had to drive the car on the hard tyres in the early part of the race. I always prefer to start on the harder compound and switch to a softer compound during the race. It just makes the second part of the race feel so much better when you've got that knowledge in your, and you start to actually stretch what you've been able to do. You're putting in personal best times towards the end of the race as well, and that always feels good. Black Evo going in for his second pit stop. This is going to shake up the order again. Unfortunately, he could not make those hard tyres last all the way to the end, but he had to come off the mediums really quickly. So I anticipate we'll be switching on to some soft tyres next for Black Evo. Pumpkin King is in 3rd place, and I don't think he's actually finished 3rd yet this season. It's all been 1sts and 2nds and 1 non-podium on the first round, as he was just getting used to the racing and the Porsche. But he scored 8 points in round 1, wasn't around in round 2, and then just started winning straight away. So I took a break and spent his time practicing, I think, and it was time well spent. Here is Apex not found catching now. This is the battle for 4th place because of that pit stop from Black Evo, as we look for that chance into the left-hander. It's not going to happen here, but we are catching the Ferrari at this stage. And behind him we've got Backmarker Racing, who has been able to stay ahead of Lord Top Hat, but Lord Top Hat his tyres will stay good to the end, and Backmarker Racing will naturally start to lose grip towards the end of this race. There are just over 5 minutes to go as Apex not found then continues to harry and hassle and chase down the Ferrari of JCGT. Apex not found in 2nd in the championship. Going for the move, is he, into the left hand? I think he's going to compromise himself for the run up the hill to the Vidal in making an early attempt then into Xiaomi curve. Apex not found 2nd in the championship. JCGT 3rd in the championship. So these guys are very familiar with racing at the highest level here in G2. Side by side, they will have to go. They will have to give the space, and I think space was given. Certainly from that view. Perhaps we should have another check from Apex Not Found's position here. Was he given the apex here on the left? I think he was. I think that was very fair in the end from JCGT and Apex Not Found, and that will slow them a little bit, and Backmarker Racing might be able to take that opportunity to try and get some slipstream from the back of these cars. But as things stand, it looks like Backmarker's maximum result is going to be a P6, and we've got Breo and Apex Specs catching this group. Here we go again, down the inside, down into the Ravenel hairpin. A little bit crossed up on the way through the corner from Apex Not Found, but rescuing it nicely. And of course, he's got those medium tyres on the car to the end of the race, and he manages to get the traction out of that hairpin, and ahead of JCGT then, and into 4th position. JCGT on the hard tyres, should be good on the Ferrari for some time here, still on the hard tyres. I think everybody has managed to put a good amount of fuel on. Backmarker Racing possibly the least fuel we have seen so far. As I cycle through the drivers, most drivers over a quarter or around a quarter of a tank remain for the last 3.5 minutes, but Backmarker Racing with significantly less fuel than everybody else. Black Evo in P9. It is difficult to calculate the fuel in a timed race rather than a number of laps race. I don't know why in the G series we seem to be alternating between time races and fixed lap races, or at least across the grid we seem to be alternating, and it's quite tricky to keep track of, especially from the driver's seat. They do get a handy little graphic advantage on refueling if it is a fixed lap race. That's Apex Specs pressurising Lord Top Hat. Lord Top Hat might feel slightly aggrieved by that. Let's have a little check whether he got a little nudge on into the corner. Sorry, excuse me for going through here. We'll see if there is a little touch on the way into the braking zone. It looked like there might be, but no, we did just outbrake ourselves. So my apologies to Apex Specs. All was very fair in the end. Lord Top Hat just feeling the pressure and perhaps watching his mirrors rather than his braking references. He's in 8th. Black Evo then on the new soft tyres. He's damaged the front of the car, possibly passing somebody. But he's got great tyres for the end of the race. We'll see how high he can go. Meanwhile, don't forget, DeLucas leads, Rizback 2nd, and your champion elect is Pumpkin King in P3. Breo's in 10th place. Mushokif in 11th. We've got Monkey Games running 12th, and eyeing up that 11th place of Mushokif at the moment. Monkey on the medium tyres, Mushokif on the used mediums as well, it looks like. But the Lamborghini just not the car to drive today, it looks like anyway. Certainly I think I've seen enough of the two Jan-Placked interiors to say that it looks like it is not a lot of fun. A slightly mistimed switchback from Mushokif meant he actually ended up touching the back of Monkey Games Porsche as Monkey Games goes through. In the end, clean move from his perspective anyway. B-Bar in 13th place, Quicks in 14th, and DeLucas then, as I mentioned, up in that P1 and closing in on Quicks here to put a lap on him. But there's only just over 2 minutes left to go before the checkered flag, as we see a 1 second penalty being paid by Rizback. He's about to lose 2nd place, unfortunately, as Pumpkin King had put in a lot of work to catch the Ferrari, and that has pressurized Rizback into a small mistake over an apex or an exit on full throttle. And unfortunately for him, he's also got to protect those hard tyres as well. They are running low. It's just slightly lower than Pumpkin King, but Pumpkin King with all the speed that you would expect from a champion elect here, and he is opening out the gap. I think that DeLucas might be too far away. I've spoken too soon before, but we're on to what is the final lap now for the leaders as Apex Not Found comes through. He's in 4th place. JCGT in 5th, There's about 15 seconds to run here. Some of these drivers will not make the very end of the race, I do believe. We've got it's just closing out now. 5, 4, 3, and 2, and 1 second. JCGT is going to be the first finisher, is he? No, he's going to go on to his final lap just. So it will be Black Evo. It will be Apex Specs who crosses the line. Backmarker Racing came home in 8th, and Lord Top Hat in 9th. Let's just go back through. That's Breo 10th, Monkey Games 11th, Mr. Keith in 12th, B-Bar very much on his own at the moment, and certain to finish 13th, I do believe. DeLucas versus Pumpkin King. A huge gap at this stage. Rizback in 3rd, Apex Not Found then in 4th position, JCGT in 5th. There's not much left to fight for here in our grid. We'll go back up then to see DeLucas, who is weaving the tyres. I think he's pretty happy. Now, you don't want to be accused of hubris, DeLucas, because you really don't need to be treating the tyres like that, but he's got a good idea that we're watching him on what is his final lap of the race through the Vidal chicane. We've just got one danger zone to avoid that that pit lane entry wall, and this is going to be a fabulously popular very first win for DeLucas, who has a second and a third to his name, but he takes his first win for SVR here in G2 at the Nurburgring. Congratulations to him on the penultimate round of the championship. Pumpkin King equaling his worst result of the last 9 rounds in second place, would you believe? Pumpkin King in P2. Rizback, unfortunately, dropped from pole down to 3rd place, especially on that final sequence, but a very impressive reserve in performance from an AN level driver as he goes into P3. Here is Apex Not Found exiting the corner. He will get that 4th place, and I think he's pretty happy about it here in his scarred and battle-worn Coach Dave Audi. JCGT in 5th, and Black Evo in 6th, completing the final grid then. Apex Specs 7th, Backmarker Racing 8th, and Lord Top Hat 9th, with Breo finishing in 10th position. I think it'd be good to just double check the race results, because we should be able to do that, and the final results. So I'm going to go ahead and have a look at that with you. So let's look at that and see if anybody got any penalties. There was certainly an investigation there for Black Evo, and for Breo and for Monkey Games. So it looks like a very busy day in the stewards room. Breo, I think that was the backmarker racing incident. 10-second time penalty and 3 penalty points for Breo for avoidable contact. You can read all the details and even view the report videos on the website. That's info.svr-racing.com, and it's race number 129. That sounds like quite a lot when I say it out loud, and I've called most of them. Breo with another one as well. That looks like 2 penalty points and 5 seconds for a dive bomb, apparently. Not sure I recognise that one. Pumpkin and B-Bar, unsafe rejoin, no further action. Okay, that was after Pumpkin's problem lap 1, turn 1, I would expect. We've got Black Evo. This one's an interesting one for me. This was lap 1, turn 13. So Black Evo seemed to be predominantly to blame for the 5-second 2-point contact situation. Zenith and Breo again, incident closed with no further action there. Monkey Games. Now that is very unusual for me to see Monkey Games featuring in the stewards room, but 10-second time penalty for 1 incident with Apex Not Found, and a 2-place setback on the grid for the next round, I believe. A grid penalty for impeding in qualifying, I believe that will be. But yeah, like I say, you can view all of those details in the post-race positions, but this is how things have worked out post any penalties. Fastest lap went by way of Pumpkin King, but DeLucas with his first win, and congratulations to him, and of course to Rizback for coming home in 3rd as a reserve. Thanks everybody, really appreciate everyone for watching, for tuning in. We will be packing up and using our logistics sponsors to make sure that we get our teams safely out to their next rounds. It is Monza, not too far away, for the Formula cars this weekend to come, and in 2 weekends' time we'll be heading to Road Atlanta for an incredible endurance session for the GT3 cars. Thanks everyone, I really appreciate you pressing all the buttons at the bottom of the screen, but for now we will catch you next time. Thanks for watching.